Are you sick and tired of the same boring dinner ideas, but you need something that the whole family will love? I understand that's super tricky, but today we're gonna do that with these teriyaki chicken burgers. These are high in protein. They take about 30 minutes to make, and they are really family friendly. My whole family loves these. We're also doing a creamy coleslaw. This is an Asian style coleslaw that you can throw on top of the burgers or you can serve on the side. For this recipe, we're gonna get started with our creamy Asian coleslaw. This has pineapple in it. It has jalapeno, red onion. It's so good. It's the perfect burger topping. So what we're gonna do to get started is we wanna chop up a few ingredients. We're gonna be chopping up a jalapeno. I like to leave the membranes and seeds out so that my kids will actually eat this and not like die from spice. My oldest loves spice. My youngest does not like any spice. We also have some cilantro that we're just gonna chop up nice and fine. And then we have some red onion. I like to just slice this really thin and then just give it a good little dice. And for our pineapple, you can either use a fresh pineapple or feel free to use a canned pineapple. Okay, now if you want to use a fresh pineapple but you just don't know how to cut one, I am here to help. So what we want to do first is just go ahead and cut off the top part. And then we're also going to cut the bottom off. I actually got a good one without any brown spots, which I feel like never happens anymore. So now we have a flat base for it to sit on our cutting board, which is key to this whole thing. And you're just gonna start shaving around the edges. Make sure you have a sharp knife, and it's better to go like a little bit at first. You can always like take that off after. But you wanna just go around and shave each side, kind of move with the curve of the pineapple. I know like a lot of people are intimidated by pineapples. Same thing with mangoes. Mangoes are one of my favorite fruit. I'll show you guys another day how to cut those because I have a really special method. Okay, once we get that done, we have this center core. So we're gonna run our knife as close as possible to it and just go straight down. And we're gonna do that 4 times. So basically we just cut the core out of the center, and then now our pineapple's ready. You can dice this however you want. I'm only gonna be using about, maybe not even half of it. I only want a cupful. So I'm just gonna give it a really nice dice, just nice and small so it doesn't look like too big in the coleslaw. For the rest of it, I'm just gonna dice it up large and then stick it in the fridge for snacking for the week. My kids really like pineapple. I like it, but it's not my favorite. Like I can't just like eat it plain. It makes my mouth kind of raw. It does taste good though. Okay, so for our coleslaw, we are first gonna get started with our sauce. We have just about a 1/4 cup of mayonnaise. You can use Kewpie mayo or you can just use regular Hellmann's. I'm just using Hellmann's today. I have it in the fridge and it's easy. So I'm gonna dump that in. Next up, we have 1 tablespoon of rice vinegar and we have 2 teaspoons of sugar. The reason why I like to do the coleslaw before I do the burgers is because that way when I put this in the fridge, it'll dissolve for like 10 or 15 minutes before I actually serve all of it. I don't want any grit from that sugar. All right, then you're just gonna give this a good mix. I'm using my spoon. You can also use a whisk. You don't really need it though. Okay, and then for our coleslaw, we are going easy peasy with one of these bagged coleslaws. This is the actual coleslaw. It doesn't have like that pack of sauce with it. We don't want to use that. So I'm just gonna dump this into a bowl, and then if there's any like giant chunks, which there always is, I'm just gonna go ahead and pull those out. Like for instance this. You can chop this up, add it back in. But for the sake of time, I'm just going to take them out. There's usually like 4 or 5 of them that are just ginormous. Also gonna add in our onion. We've got our cilantro, jalapeno. Last but not least, we have our pineapple. And I like this too because that's gonna add a little bit of sweetness to the slaw as well. We're gonna pour our coleslaw sauce right over the top of this and then just stir it up to combine. I'm also gonna throw in just a little bit of salt and pepper. Then we're gonna stick this right in the fridge while we make our burgers. If you guys wanna add a little bit more spicy in too, you can always add like a teaspoon of sriracha. That will be really good Asian heat. Next up, we are getting ready for our chicken burgers. I'm gonna be using some smart chicken, ground chicken breast. This is air chilled, which just tastes so much better. We're gonna add this into a bowl. And we're not doing too much as far as like chopping goes for this. I was gonna do ground ginger and ground garlic, but I'm like, you know what? We're gonna use the powdered version to save time. And one thing with ground chicken and ground turkey is it is very wet feeling. It's different than ground beef. It's a little bit harder to make actually fit into burgers. So in order to help that, we're gonna be using panko breadcrumbs, which these are Asian too, which I love, like just all the Asian flavors in here, and they're really nice and crisp, but they taste amazing in chicken burgers. We are also gonna add in 1 egg. Don't do more than that or you're gonna have a mess. And I got a little eggshell in there. Then we have a 1/2 cup of panko. And then we've got some spices. I'm using salt, garlic powder, I have some cumin, and a little bit of ground ginger. Just pour that right in. And then as far as the teriyaki sauce goes, I'm gonna be using this Kinder's teriyaki sauce and glaze. You can use any store-bought or you can make your own, that's totally fine too. We're actually not gonna use that like in our ground mixture. We're gonna just brush it on to give it a little bit extra flavor. So now you're just gonna take and just combine this. You can use gloves if you want to too. If your mixture is on the runny side, just add in a little bit more panko. It's gonna be a little bit more juicy than like a meatball would be, if like with ground beef. One other thing too is you don't want to overmix it. You just want to mix it until just combined. That's going to keep the burgers really juicy. Then we're just going to form these into some patties and lay them down on a parchment paper lined cookie sheet. This recipe is going to make 4 large chicken burgers. So you want to just take 1/4 of the meat and just roll it into a ball and then just press it down on the parchment paper. One of my favorite hacks to do chicken and turkey burgers is just to cut around, like a square around the actual burger. That way, you'll see in a second, we're just gonna like plop it onto the pan and it peels off really easy because ground chicken and ground turkey are really sticky. They're sometimes hard to work with and they fall apart really easy. So next we're gonna get a large skillet heated up over medium heat with a tablespoon of olive oil. You wanna really like just move your pan around so that it goes everywhere so nothing sticks. And then you'll see what I mean here. I take the parchment paper and I just flip it upside down and then it just peels right off so it stays in our burger shape. We're gonna cook this for about 4 to 6 minutes on each side. We want that internal temperature to reach 165 degrees before it's safe to eat. And at this point too, you can pop your buns in the oven if you want, your hamburger buns, so you can warm them up. I'm gonna brush that teriyaki sauce on both sides of my burgers. And then we're just gonna go ahead and remove these onto a plate once they reach 165. So once these come off, I'm just gonna tin them with foil for just a few minutes, like maybe 2. Then we're gonna grab our Asian coleslaw from the fridge, give it a nice mix up, and load up these burgers on brioche buns. These are so good. Okay, you guys, we're all done with these teriyaki chicken burgers with pineapple Asian slaw. You've got to try this recipe. It is so good. The perfect lunch or dinner. This one is super easy, ready in under 30 minutes, and there's a ton of leftover slaw, so you can serve that on the side too with just like some chips. Make it an easy dinner night, high protein. Thanks so much for watching. Make sure if you haven't already, you give this video a like, and make sure to subscribe for new recipe videos every single week. I love sharing them with you. Thanks for being here, and I'll see you next time. Bye. I have mine just like piled high with coleslaw because that's my favorite. So much flavor.